Hi, folks. This is the essay we're going to work on, and it's really important that we make attention to what we're looking at here. The open-ended response or an essay activity. And the beginning part of it, we lay out the fact that Rome's classical history sets the foundation of our modern Western society. One way we could appreciate the achievements of classical culture is through the analysis of its architecture, particularly in cities it built throughout Europe, Asia, and Africa. So you saw the building of Roman city, a hypothetical city in Gaul, which is in modern France. The movie you're going to watch will attempt to bring ancient Roman city to life by tying its architecture with the culture that built it. That's why we had the characters and you got to see them put it together and why they built the stuff. As you watch the movie, consider the following prompt. And this is something you guys saw at the beginning. So you need to collect information that's relevant to the prompt. Now, some of you had trouble with this because we were looking at architecture, which are things. You could look at a forum or an aqueduct, Roman walls or Roman roads. These are all things that the Romans built that are still around today. So I've put some examples of good notes on the assignment page itself. So you could use that. I also have a web address, which has a simple discussion of Roman architecture. So if you felt like your notes don't have good specific pieces of evidence there that will help you with the essay, you could feel free to use any of those sources. So it talks about the movie, which is a narrative story, because the architecture wasn't made to confound archaeologists. It was made to meet certain human needs, just like our school and our stores and our streets and roads, our highways and airports are things that humans built today to meet certain human needs. So the essay here is analyze the role architecture plays in helping us understand life in the Roman Empire. If you don't understand that, anything you build here will not be very good. So we're trying to look at the fact, like from an archaeological standpoint, what role does architecture play in helping us today in 2020 understand how the Roman society and their everyday life, how it worked, their spice. What can we see in a Roman city that would indicate their cultural patterns, their knowledge, their ability, or their economic system, how they managed wealth and how they exchanged it? Or in politics, what can we know about Roman cities that would show that their power of their army and empire building and how they organize government power to get things done? So there's issues like that, or even social structures, the idea of wealthy versus poor, or what Romans did for leisure, which could be a cultural pattern, but also if it was involving a club or an organization, that's a social structure. So you need to focus your writing a thesis that's relevant to the prompt. And we talked about thesis statements before. So whatever you have, it's a simple one sentence answer to the question, analyze the role. So give me a statement that analyzes the role that architecture plays in helping us understand Roman life. And again, you guys could have claims that focus on political systems, interaction. Think of the SPICE paradigm here, because you need to have three claims, and those claims should be supported by a couple of pieces of information each. And you could use information twice if you'd like, but again, you want to come up with three claims that show us how your thesis is valid. So this is going to be between 250 and 400 words. So it'll be you have three claim paragraphs, an introduction paragraph, and a conclusion paragraph. So it'll work out to about 5 paragraphs. So this might be closer to 500 words. So what I have here are note sheets, which I expect you guys to do. So on your notes page, you've got to induce your claims, find the evidence, and again, you don't have to tell me everything you know about Roman architecture, but a couple pieces of evidence, and how does that evidence connect to your claim? So a claim is like a mini thesis. It's a statement that shows something that deals with the analysis of Roman architecture. So evidence would be a specific piece of architecture and what it does, and then explain how that architecture and its existence helps support your claim. And most of us will have to do 3 of those. So once you have your 3 claims, your thesis is something that cements those claims together. You're kind of bundling them together in one statement. So the idea of taking the 3 things you're claiming and organizing them under one declarative sentence, one simple declarative sentence, which is going to be part of your introduction. So, and then what we're going to do right now is I give you space to type your essay at the bottom. So this is what you'll be turning in as your assignment. But one thing I want to take a look at, if we could, is, in which we will, is I'd like you to look at the rubric. Because before you write, I want you guys to consider what you guys have to be writing about. So here we are. This is the rubric. So this is how you're going to be graded. Notice that it is 33 points. This is a really big assignment. Do well on this assignment. Do good original work, and it will really help your grade. Some of us are struggling with writing, so please follow those steps. So the first part is the notes, the pre-writing part. I showed you guys that at the beginning. That is developing your claims, laying out your evidence, and then coming up with your thesis. So if I see that done, that's 4 points. Now, the thesis statement, that's something that organizes, that's like the framework of your entire essay. If your thesis is clear and relevant, and I better proofread that before you get to that, it's going to be the idea that the prompt looks at the an analysis about the role of architecture plays in helping us understand Roman life. If you make a statement that's very clear and relevant, that's 4. Now, whether you prove it is another point. You can make a really good thesis statement and get 4 points there, but then you are setting up yourself to try to prove that. Introductions. Some of us aren't doing a really good part of introductions. Your thesis is part, but you got to make me want to read this. Why is it important for us to understand this? How can you connect me to this? So understanding about Rome and what it is in Western civilization and how Roman cities reflect many of our cities. Think about that and getting me kind of interested in wanting to read it. Now, there are 3 claims, and here they are. We'll just go over the rubric because they're the same for all 3 claims. If you have a clear claim, and that claim should have at least 2 pieces of evidence in it, and that evidence needs to be explained. So each paragraph will have a claim sentence, 1 or 2 sentences that outline like 2 pieces of evidence, which would be architectural evidence. So you would talk about features of architecture. And then at the end of each sentence, you should explain with a sentence, how does that evidence support your claim? So that's the idea of going ape. Make an argument, provide the evidence, and then explain how the evidence supports your argument. You need to do that 3 times without making 3 different claims. So you can see that you want to be exemplary, but certainly if you have evidence and explanation and argument, you're good. And that's for all 3 of those. And then finding the conclusion, which we can't forget. The conclusion is the idea of your thesis. You should go back to your thesis and demonstrate how your claims make your thesis valid. You know, it's closing the deal. So, for example, if you're selling cars, you give all the information and you don't just say buy. You say, okay, what will it take to get you to buy this car? You're closing the deal. You're trying to convince me. So you would argue, these are the things that we know, so I'm right. You're making an argument. It's the idea of closing it out. The closing argument an attorney makes, or the close in a sale, those are the most important pieces. That's when you win or lose. So make sure you don't forget that's not an afterthought. And then finally is style. Again, I want you to make sure you've proofread it. You have a good historical vocabulary. Show me you've paid attention to what we've read about on Rome. Your English is conventional, complete sentences. And that's what we need to do. And if you need any help, if you're home, please email me. Okay, folks, hopefully this works.